Greetings and salutations. My name is Tish and welcome to the Artist Haven. In this live stream, I am taking you on my journal journey for the next 4 weeks. We're going to cover 4 journals in 4 weeks. And our first journal is this mermaid tag set that I got at Dollar Tree. I'm like, this would make a really cute journal. So what we're going to do today is we are going to get this ready for paint, put some gesso on it, do those kind of things, and kind of get an idea of what we want to do with it. Do we want to do square pages? Do we want to do tag pages? How do we want to do this? So my first step is cutting the tag off. We're just going to cut this off because I've got plenty of this string. And we'll put this tag over in our scrap bin because we can use that for something in this journal, and put the string in our scrap bucket where all the string goes. And let's take a look at this. So we could do many different things. We could tab bind it so we have all the pages tab bound, but I think with the weight of these, even though they're probably really, it looks like they're really thin pine, I don't think they're balsa because I would be able to put my thumb in them. So this is really thin plyboard pine probably. Let me see where my ruler is and see if I can actually see how thin this is. Let's do centimeters because that is smaller and easier to read. This looks like it is 3 millimeters, about like 2.75, which translates to probably, well, it's halfway between a 16th and an 8th, so whatever that is. It says welcome on here. We're going to paint over that. But we could do something with Chicago screws where it slides open like a paint fan. So something, do I have my paint fan handy? I thought I had it. I thought I saw it over here. There it is. I have a paint fan right here. It's a Pantone paint fan from like the 80s. It was one of my dear friends. And so every time I get stuck, I let her come to me and I say, give me a color. I close my eyes and I open it up and I use the colors off of there. So we could have it open. See how they have this clip here? We could very easily take a Chicago screw and do a fan style. Use cardstock for our pages, cut all our pages the same. Maybe put a washer here so it's stable, and the Chicago screw. And if you don't know what a Chicago screw is, we will show you one. I don't know why I'm singing everything today. We could even use a rivet, but don't think the rivets are long enough. So a Chicago screw is one bit like this, and then just to show you here, I'm going to grab a screw bit. It may not be the right color, and then another bit like this. So one has a flat end like so, and a shaft, and then the other one has a screwdriver head and then threaded, and that goes inside that and it holds it together. So let's take one of the longer ones here. I think I want to use silver. I'm trying to find my there they are. Tweezers make it a lot easier. So I think the longest I have is 10 millimeters. Is this a 10? Not quite. It's like 8. Maybe it is, the longest I have is 8. Oh, is this longer? This is longer. Yep, it's 10. So let's see. I'll have to dig through here and find the top piece for it, because the screws for the 10 millimeters are just that hair longer. So you can see maybe those are the same. And I wouldn't have put them all in one bin like this, except for the fact that my bin that they came in broke. So yeah, that's the thing. Well, we'll just use this one for now, just so we can get an idea. Because we don't really need the top. I'm going to set that to the side. And I have washers in another bin, but so let's get those. Those are here. It's my hardware. This is what I use to when I'm actually like building stuff. So we can spray paint these. They don't have to be silver. Those look big enough to cover the hole and big enough for the Chicago screw to fit in. Yes, sirree, Bob. So we can paint them, spray paint them. We can use, what's it called? Embossing powder on them. There's a whole bunch of things we can do to those washers. And we can get 4 of them, but for right now, we're just going to use 2 because we're just wanting to not have the wood go through. So, would this work? Would we have enough room to put a stack of pages in here? So let's just, got my screwdriver right here because oddly enough, I do like to use these for projects. So we're just going to lightly screw this down. There we go. And we have not a lot of room. We have probably, where's my ruler? There it is. Probably have, let's see this way. Looks like about 3.5 millimeters between that. So about 1/8 of an inch. So that will not work per se. Now here's the other thing we can do. We can get bigger Chicago screws because I think they come all the way up to 20 millimeters. I'm not sure. But I don't want to wait for Amazon to put my book together. But we can take the Chicago screw and take our other screw, take the idea of a Chicago screw and take a short flathead screw. So there is, this is not flathead, there's a word for it and I can't think of it. So sorry about that. Let's compare. Okay, so I'm going to show you the 2 different types of screws real quick. I'm going to put it on green paper so it stands out. So maybe. So you can see here, this one angles in and this one is flat. And there's a difference. I think these are called machine screws and these are something else. I can't remember. But we can use, we don't want to use the ones with an angle per se. We want to use something that's going to stick out a little bit. And I think, nope, that's too big for that. I think I have, yeah, something like this. So, but that's going to be too big for the Chicago screw. So let's see what else we got. Oh wait, what's this? Could this be in there? Could this be? Could this be? Yes, it does fit. So we can take a regular screw and see this is flat. Yes, it's the wrong color, but we can emboss it or spray paint it. Just tape up the threads so you don't get paint on the threads. And then we take our washers again. Maybe. There we go. We'll put our washer on. And I think I might have better washers for this. I don't want to dig right now. We're getting the idea is basically what we're doing. So we can take our washers, excuse me, there we go, give it a little screw, and now we can go really wide. The only problem with doing it this way is we have this little bit here, but what we can do is make it 10 millimeters. Well, that's as far as it's going to go. So we have two options here. We can take a piece of like straw, like plastic straw, or paper straw. If you're against, bamboo straws, you can use whatever. Metal straws might be a little difficult, but we could probably make that work too. We could put a piece of straw and then put all of our paper on that straw and then have the straw between the two. And then that way the pressure that we tighten down will keep it together and allow us to do something like a paint fan. I think that would look really cool. So let's do that. Let's do that. So let's take this out. I'm going to have to take this downstairs and outside, and I'm just going to spray paint it. I've got some copper color. Actually, what I could do is get a silver one of these bases. Well, I'll come up with something. And I might actually have screws that are this size but bigger. I don't think I have any in this particular box, but I have a whole kit and caboodle. Oh, I do have some, but these are really big. These are really, really big. Although, if we painted them gold and then stamped on them to make them look like a gold medallion or something, that might be kind of cool. So we're going to leave these out because I'm me and hello ADHD. And then we'll put these little washers on the inside. And then we'll put this screw back because he's too short. And I think, so I save all my hardware. Like when you get, say a wall mount for a television or something, I save all of the extras. Like if you don't use, there's bolts because you're trying to do it on sheetrock, so you go out and buy the anchoring screws, the wall anchors and the screws that go with them. So you have like 2 or 3 pieces left over. They all go in an old coffee tin, and I use them later. And this is why I've been doing it for probably a decade now. But I have cool things like spacers, I have a little white, you don't use all the spacers when you assemble something because it's not what you need to assemble it at that point. But I have all kinds of cool little nidbits and stuff. This is silver already. Let's use this one. Maybe. No, let's just use wherever that base went. There it is. Okay, and we're not going to use this screw either because he's too chubby. Uh-oh, did I put the screw away? I put the wrong screw away. Silly me. He went in this bin, so he's got to be on top. Hold on, I'll find him. I need my tweezers. This is the only thing that gets a little redundant. Was that him? I think so. Or was it this one? No, because he's angled. They're the same size. I'm just looking at basically looking at their butts. Or their necks, I guess you could say. So I think that's the one we want to use. So let's put that back in there. We'll put that back in there. And we're just going to double check and make sure this is the one. Yep. I'm going to put that with this one. So let's put both of these back. And we're going to grab the silver one. So that way we're starting from the same base. And I got a Chicago screw right here that's silver. There we go. So we'll start from the same base. I'm going to put all these together. I'm going to put 3 of these in here and 3 of these in here. So grab one more, because we're going to put one on the back side, just so if we do put the straw, it'll help anchor it a little bit better. And I know I have 2 extra screws, so that is fortunate. If I happen to drop it, I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to put this all together, and then when we're done with this live stream, I'll take it downstairs and I'll spray paint it so they all kind of have the same base, because they're all silver, so they're going to kind of start off as the same color. And I will prime them, and we'll see what we'll do with them. So I'm going to put that out to the side. We're going to put this away. Whoop, you go back in there. Put that back, put that back. Now we have our idea. So what I think we should do, excuse me, hang on. Thank you for hanging on, because I get a tickle in my throat, and then it tickles so much it makes me cough. Okay, I gotta put this paper clip away. There we go. Because he's sitting on there thinking he wants to go with his friends. Okay, so since we're gonna do this kind of thing, we need to make a template of this so we have a way to trace out our papers, or at least make sure they're the right size. Because once we have these wet, we can't handle these again until they're dry. So let's get a piece of something heavy duty, which cardboard would work, but I find that sometimes cardboard is too stiff and it's hard to cut accurately. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, because this one lays flat, and this is kind of warped, so hang on, let me grab a different piece. Let's grab one of these. This will work. It's still kind of warped, but it will work. I'm going to line this up at the side here and the bottom here. There we go. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, I got the hiccups. Okay. C'est la vie. So this thing we can also take measurements from a little easier. And I'm going to make this line nice and dark. There we go. And I'm going to grab this guy, or this gal, I should say. This is Fanny, my Fiskars cutter, and I adore her. So we're going to line the line up with the edge of the plastic. There we go. There's one. And then line this up with the edge of the plastic. And there's 2. And then we're going to line this line up and just keep doing this until we get our template cut off. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want straight lines. And I know me and scissors, we get along fine. It's been a while since I got stabbed by a pair. I never understood, why is it called a pair of scissors? It's one scissor. It's one scissor. It's got two blades, so why don't we say pair of blades? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm sure there's some long, drawn-out explanation. But now let's see how we did. So I'm going to do this, line this up. And other than being over a little bit on that edge, I think we're good. So we're going to cut just a little bit off of this edge. That looks good to me. I can see that line. And we're just going to cut like literally a fur off. Okay, there's that. And there's that. It's a little wide for the top. I don't know why. No, I just didn't have it lined up straight. Okay. So we're not going to worry about the hole right now because we'll punch all the holes. We'll set up a rig where we can just go and punch and punch. Or we can just use this as our template. We can use this again for our template. I'm not going to worry about the hole right now though because we want to use this when we are figuring out our pages. And tomorrow's live stream, we are going to use alcohol ink to make some kind of blendy, watery looking pages. But today I want to get these gessoed and painted. The first thing I want to do though is I want to hit them with a little bit of sandpaper, just a little bit of light sandpaper, because they are relatively smooth. So we want to give them a little bit of tooth because we don't want it to just soak in. We want it to like stay on. So we're just gonna take this and just lightly sand. My dad's rolling over in his grave right now because I just went against the grain, but I could feel something there and now it's smooth. But like not, I don't know. It's smooth, but it's got tooth. It's like, it's an even tooth because these are cheap. And I actually will see if I can find them on the Dollar Tree website and maybe get a few, order a few, because I know I'm in the process of putting together junk journal starter kits. And so they'll have a bunch of tools in them that you use for junk journaling that you may not use for other crafts. You know, you're going to supply your own scissors because scissors are a very personal item. At least for me, I have scissors that I love. Like I love these Tim Holtz scissors. I love them because they're big, like my fabric scissors. But I also love that they're soft. These handles are soft. And I love that because my hands don't like when things get too hard. So there we go. Just lightly rubbing this. Now I notice there's a little dent in here, so we're going to work with that. We're not going to worry about sanding it out. We're not going to worry about any of that. So I'm just trying to stay with the grain and get this background taken care of. This is a little bit challenging because this mermaid lady is raised. And I have an idea. We're going to paint this with some paint that I got from, you know what, we're not going to gesso this. We're going to paint it directly on the bare wood. We're not going to prime it. We're going to use this paint, and I want to see how it does because I haven't had a chance to really experiment with it, but I got it at the Painted Raven, and this has some splatters on it, which is to be expected in my studio. Go splatter or go home, you know. That's kind of where I'm at, and I'm just going to very lightly Give our lady a little massage. Now this is an old sanding block, 3M fine and medium, and that's what I use as a sanding block for regular sandpaper. Because these things, the sanding blocks are expensive. Sandpaper you can get at Dollar Tree. You know, it's not good sandpaper, but it works. You could do this whole project from Dollar Tree stuff. So you don't have to use fancy tools or anything. And I'm just gonna hit the edges really quick. I'm not gonna distress the edges because part of the reason why I don't want to prime this wood, like with gesso or anything, is because I want it to soak into the wood. I want the color to soak into the wood, because that way when we distress, it'll be wood toned that color. And I need to go find that paint. I've used this paint on another project. So I've got this one, and this one. And I'm gonna have to go get a blue one, because I am a fan of green. I don't know what it is about green, this like green gold that I absolutely love. This color is Living Light. This color is Aura. It's a beautiful purple, and that's what we're going to start off with. And then this color is Spirit Adrift, which is kind of a gray purple. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a coat of this down. We're going to come back with the gray, maybe even a little bit of green in places, and then we're going to coat it all in like a teal, blue, and blue. So we may have to do that tomorrow or the next day. I do have some other paints that we can play with, and then we might do that. But I wanted to specifically showcase these paints. They are by Daydream Apothecary. It's a clay and chalk artisan paint. I wanted to test it on a small project because the clay paint that I use has a $3,000 minimum order. $3,000. Yes, you heard me correctly. $3,000. And their paint is about the same price as this stuff is. So yeah, I can get a lot of paint for that, but I also have to be a storefront, and I don't have a storefront, which I think in this day and age is kind of dumb. So we're going to start with this purple. First, we're going to open it up. The seal got cracked in shipment, so I got this one on a little bit of a discount. And if you want to get a little bit of a discount, there is a discount code in my description, and you can support a small business. She is a brick and mortar. So let's see if we can get this open. Let's grab a stir stick because I don't want to get paint everywhere. There we go. So this one was a little bit less in the jar because it did leak in her shipment. I think. I don't remember. I just heard discount and I'm like, okay. All right, let's put that in there. And I'm going to put this in the garbage because this is full of paint. And I try to keep clean, but you know, if you don't want to get dirty, wear gloves. I need parchment. Let me go grab my piece of parchment because I don't want to get it everywhere. And I definitely don't want to get paint on these. Oh, this goes in this. Let's tidy up a bit. I'm going to put this back on its shelf where it belongs. There it goes. So that's my inspiration tool. I also have Sarah Renee Clark's color boxes, and we're gonna do some live streams with those. I gotta reach out to her and be like, hey, I want to use your thing. Are we cool? And I know her personally, so she'll be like, yeah, go ahead. Just remember to click back. And I'll be like, I got you, girl. Because that's how, you know, us women on YouTube are with each other most of the time. Most of the time. Parchment. The other thing that I was thinking, hang on, I'm going to show you this. I know I have paint out, but yeah, I got to show you. I was thinking, instead of trying to paint, and this might be even more difficult than what I think it might be, I have this, I've had this. How cool would this be to use this as her scales? Like, take a photo of that, print it out, cut it out, and then use that as a template for this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I've been wanting to use that on a mermaid project. I thought about making a journal with it, and I just haven't gotten there yet. All right, so we're going to stir this up. And we're going to start with the back. I know that sounds unintuitive, but you want to start with the front, right? I like to start with the back. That way, if for some reason it's not as dry as I think it is, when I go back to paint the front, the back is not important. So I'm going to give this a really good stir so we get all the clay and minerals and everything really well incorporated. I'm just reading the back, sorry. I was just seeing if there was anything. So it says used over properly prepared drywall, metal, plaster, wood, concrete block, and other masonry surfaces. Surface preparation. Surface should be clean and dry. Remove all dirt, loose or peeling paint, grease, rust, and contaminants that might interfere with sound adhesion. Repair all nail holes, cracks, and other surface imperfections with appropriate patching material and allow to cure. Dull, glossy surfaces by using appropriate grade sandpaper or liquid surface preparation. All surfaces should be sanded smooth as needed. And then it does the warning and all that stuff. So these are water-based paints. So let's see what kind of shenanigans we can get into. I'm just going to use a sponge brush for this coat. And we're just going to apply it liberally in. And it is soaking in before I can even spread it out. So this is some dry wood. We probably should have put some wood primer on there, but it's okay because I don't want to have streaks. Actually, it doesn't really matter because we're going to put several layers on and then distress it back. This is the test that I wanted to see. I wanted to see if we can water distress it and not use sandpaper. We'll see. I haven't really done any research on this paint as far as finding other YouTube videos that use it. But we're going to go with the flow here. Okay, I am going to bring in a little bit of water just because this is drying really fast. And I don't want to have any streakies, like inconsistent streaks, like more for, not so much for the color, but just so for the soaking in purpose, if that makes any sense. Okay. Probably doesn't. We're going to turn this around and we're going to get that corner. So I used about a tablespoon to paint this. And we're going to set it over here. And I'm going to do the same with this side. Okay, this is the mermaid one. And I'm wondering, there's a piece of glitter on there. It's already being glittered. Let's do, and I normally do not, when I'm painting furniture, I pour the paint onto a plastic paint thing, whether it's a lid from an old container. You know, I usually pour it onto something. I do not like to paint straight out of the jar or the paint can, just because you can put contaminants in the paint, especially some of these all clay-based paints, because you can put water. It's something simple as water in there can make it mold. So they don't put preservatives in it, and I'm cool with them not putting preservatives in it, but that also means that you need to kind of treat it like skincare. You don't put your finger in your skincare stuff because you don't want to introduce bugs, little creepy crawlies. So this is really pretty. I really like this, and I'm excited to get more of this and paint the pair of chairs that I have downstairs right now. All right, let's give it a mist with water, and wetting the surface before I applied the paint made it go down much faster. I wanted, or much more smoothly. I usually wet the surface, but I wanted to see how it went on dry. This is kind of an experiment for me, because if I can't get my paint that I love, that I've been using for almost 10 years because of their high purchase demands, I am going to use this paint because this is performing, and it's the same. It's a very similar consistency. This one is almost like paste. When we open up the other ones, probably tomorrow, we'll, because we're going to probably end up working on this a little bit each day until we're on our last day, and then we'll assemble and put things together. So, yeah, because this isn't dry yet to even dry enough yet to flip it over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stir stick out. We're going to scrape off as much of the paint as we can. And we're going to put this on a tray. I'm going to wipe off this on the back side. I love sponge brushes. But we'll, for the other two coats, we're going to be using a chip brush. So, there's that. And I don't have a piece of press and seal, so let's go get a piece of press and seal. And we'll see how it cleans up off your hands too. All right, I'm going to put these two colors here. I might just have to, because I don't think I'll have a chance to get to the Painted Raven today or tomorrow. So, and I'm not even sure if they have a blue in the line. Like I said, I did not do my research. I am owning up to that. Press and seal is in the top drawer. There we go. You do not have to use press and seal. You can use an old baggie. You can, I think that'll work for our straw too. How do you like that? I keep random things in my drawers. It probably makes no sense to you guys how I do things, but let's put a paintbrush. So, but if you can't get your hands on press and seal, regular plastic wrap, an old plastic bag. I've used plastic shopping bags before, but always remember to use the inside of the plastic shopping bag, not the outside, please, because the outside has paint on it and it will stick to your paint and ruin your brush. So, don't ask me how I know, because back in the day, we didn't have YouTube. I've been doing this a long time. And so many people gatekeep, and I don't understand that. I really don't. It's like, you're not my competition. You're going to paint different than I am. You're going to see things differently than I am. You're going to, we complement each other. Clara and I's thing. We complimented each other so much because she was all color and bright and sparkle and glitter, and I was like, give me the grunge, give me the dirt, give me the bronze and brass and earth tones and jewel tones. And she's all like, it's so pretty. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty. It's just not my style. So we are looking excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put our brush in it. And out of curiosity, let's see if this is dry or not before we wrap it. But I want to cut, I just cut these into squares. That way this one big piece will last a bit longer. And I'll use the same piece. I put them on the back of my lamps. This same piece we'll use over and over again too. So it's, even though it's a new product, I just like how it seals, especially up here because it does get warm. And yeah, that's still wet. Oopsie daisy. Just put my thumbs in wet paint. Let's just give that a brush. There we go. So I'm going to let this dry and then come back to it. Whoops. And then we take it sticky side up, put our brush down, do one flip so it sticks to itself, and then we bring this down like so. Well, I put it too far down, or too far down on the plastic. I wasn't paying attention. There we go, maybe. We gotta bring it back up there. There we go. So, flip it over. Flip it up. Flip it around and around and around. Give it all a good press. And now you're sealed. There we go. There. Now let's get a tray that we can put this on. And actually, I'm going to get a big tray, and we're just going to keep this whole project on this tray. These papers. I need to get a couple more trays for my drying rack. They're so expensive because they're made in China. There's a US made tray maker. I need to get on it. I might just grab a couple pieces of plyboard and cut the plyboard to the right size. That's what I used to do. So we're going to put everything that, everything painty that goes with this. So the paintbrush and our paints. I'm going to keep the water here at the table. Let's put the straw in here so I don't lose that. The screws I'm going to leave out because I'm going to bring those downstairs, and we're going to let this dry for a little bit. I keep knocking stuff over. And it's not because I'm not a neat and tidy person. It's just because I'm a klutz. I know my limits. All right, so let's start thinking about papers. We want something, excuse me, that is going to be like cardstock. So let's grab our cardstock bin, or one of them. Let's see, scrapbook paper, print script and pattern background. Oy. This is a set that needs to be gone through, so let's use that. Save me from having to do it later. Solid background. That's a solid color. That's Tim Holtz. What's this? Actually, I know which one of the Tim Holtz ones I want to use. So I'm gonna grab the Tim Holtz. Hang on one moment. Okay, whew. I got the sneezes. Okay, this is botanicals and florals. Actually, I think the background one is the one I need because I have, I don't think this is the one that has the, well, this is kind of pretty. Is that scrapbook paper or cardstock? It feels like cardstock. So this is kind of pretty. I like the gray. And I think, yeah, but this is like florally. I think we're going to save that for a different one. I'm trying to find something that's kind of like, looks like under the sea type stuff. This is all like land-based floral. Yeah, landlubbers. That's all the same. These are roses with ravens, which is going to be the next one we're going to do. I think we're going to do kind of like a Halloween themed one. I'm kind of putting all the pieces together so I can get the thumbnail made, because the thumbnails are going to be the same for all these live streams. And then when I make the actual video, because I'll go through the live stream and like make it, yeah, I think these are not going to work. When I make the, I'll make one video out of all the live streams. I'll put it together and let you guys see a summation. But if you want to see step by step and hear my thought process, I'll be going live Saturdays and Sundays at 1. And that's not the one I wanted. That's okay. Well, that fell off. Yeah, see, I want something, I want this. Maybe. This is when they used to glue, this is how old these are, when they still used to glue the packs together. I'm thinking like old ship and old lore of mermaids. So I'm trying to find stuff that's kind of like what would be on a ship, you know? Not just all mermaid stuff. Yep, this is the other one I wanted. So we're going to use 2 of these. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Ooh, but that might work. High Street. So I'm thinking like this area. Yep. No, we're not going to use the whole page, you know, so you're only going to be using a section of it. Oh, here's a section on swimming. But not exactly what I want. Although, yeah, these are all the, I wish they didn't do that. I wish they, you know, like all these little pieces, I get it. In fact, I'm going to take these little pieces out. I'm going to cut them up. Not on this live stream, but I wish they just, instead of doing these little pieces like this, and I get it, it's for card makers, and you might use them for card making. The 6x6 I don't mind, But the little ones like this, I wish they would have just gave us another page of the originals. But that's, you know, my philosophy. What do I know? I'm going to put, actually, I'm going to cut these up so these go back here for a moment. I figured since I'm there, I might as well grab them. I'm going to be cutting up ephemera like every night for the next 6 months, I swear. But I am in the process of getting my Cricut software figured out because I've never used the Cricut software. I just inherited the Cricut cutter. So, okay, these are all paper, so we're going to put that up. Let's do a brown. And how many pages? I think we can probably do close to 10. And maybe a blue. And I love this black. I don't have very many pieces of this black, but this stuff, it just feels nice. So we could do something fun with that. And then I have all this craft paper, which isn't very thick. And I got it at Michael's, and I'm really actually kind of disappointed in it. So what I'll probably do is take this, actually that's what we'll do. We'll take, and we'll use the craft paper to make a pocket, like a, yeah, that's what we'll do. See, you just gotta think outside the box sometimes. And I think, how many pages do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then tomorrow we're going to be working with alcohol inks. We can use, I'm going to use Yupo paper, but I'm also going to use watercolor paper, and I'm going to show you some of the things that I have experimented with. And because I get inspiration from other creators, and I'm like, well, what if you just did that on, you know, we do it on watercolor paper, but what if we did it different? You know, like people use alcohol inks to paint on watercolor paper, but what if we like dropped it on there and used alcohol to get it to move around and interact with each other? And, you know, because watercolor paper can handle water, it should be able to handle ink and something that dries faster than water before it'll break down. And then I think this is the one I wanted. Excuse me. So if we make too many pages, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Let's see. Now these are one-sided pieces, so everything that I've done here so far is two-sided. It's got a print on both sides, and we want to have a print on both sides for some of them, but we also want to leave like a space for journaling. And I like that. Why am I going to browns all the time? Jeez, Tish. I'm in the cardstock pile though, at least. All right, let's take this out. See, that's what I was looking for, something that looks like planks or water. And I think the other one is where I'm going to find my other fun, like mermaid scales. But I think those are bright and colorful, and I don't know if the colors are going to match. Ooh, that's pretty. It's kind of like just like speckly paper. I don't have a white in there. What's this? That looks like, what's that plastery stuff? Another, can you see? Can you see what I normally do? Oh, but we have to do a star one. Because when you're out in the sea, it's stars. Okay, come on, work with me a little bit here. We have to do the star one. Have to. Okay. Put that one back. Okay. These are all like monotone colors. I think the other one, I wish I had that in like a teal, but we can probably do that on the watercolor paper tomorrow. But I wanted to get a leg up on all the things that we're going to do, because we're going to do the watercolor paper, and then we're going to make our own stencils so we can stencil it the way we want. And we're going to do some other fun stuff this week. Let's try this bin. Maybe it has what I want. I organized these like 2 years ago, so I don't remember how I organized them other than a printed patterned background. Okay. All right, let's see what we got in here. I think, yes. I think I know, oof. I wish I had like a C map, but I don't. I'm pretty sure I don't. So what I saw down here is what I want to do. So I love this big bin, but one, it's very heavy. This thing weighs probably 20 pounds. Ugh. And it doesn't have a handle because the handle broke eons ago. So I think, so we have this one, so it's kind of reminiscent of scales. I'm going to put that in there because that'll go with our purple that we're doing. And I actually love that paper and I don't want to use it. And where did it go? There's one that looks like bubbles right here. Okay, I'm going to pull out both of these and we'll try them both on, because there's one with a white background, and one with a black background. So I personally like the black, but we'll see what our inked papers look like when we get them done. And I know, I'm pretty sure, oh wait, we could use this paper. This is wrapping paper from, I don't even know, a long time ago, but it's got a whole globe on it. We could probably use that as some accents. We'll pull that out too. See, when you go shopping in your own stash, you find things. All right. Stripes. Chevrons. Well, that's a very subtle chevron. I thought that was plain black for a second there. Stripes again, well, zigzags. That looks like linen. Plaids. Ooh, stripes. That'll trip you up. I thought I had some actual like scales, and I could have swore they were in here. There's that purple that we found. And here's kind of a damask, which I'm going to pull one out just so we have a little more to work with, because I would rather have too much than not enough. And I want them to be in harmony with each other, but I don't want them to match exactly, and I kind of like that, but because that looks like it'd be on like a captain's chair, like the fabric print. So let's pull that one out. Okay, so I'm back to the colored pages again. I do, I have them. Oh, and they're perfect. Look at that, perfect. Okay. And I have these ones too that we could, and I have pink ones, but I think we could almost color these with some crayons. Tim Holtz crayons, and make the colors pop. Yep. Okay. Stop while you're ahead, Tish. You only have a week to finish this journal, so there we go. Okay. Okay, now we gotta lift this beastie off the table. Okay, put that in the pile. So let's measure this to see what we need to cut at. And my ruler went where? There he is. I see him peeking out. So I'm going to pull this out because this is going to be for our accent pieces. I'll put that right there for now. And I want a pencil so I can write this down. And we need these to be, what did I do with my glasses? Oh yeah. Usually I put them on my head. And you're going to be like, you're already wearing glasses. They're not bifocals. And I found out this last year that I need to get bifocals. Because, not because of the eye doctor, but just because I have to like move my glasses out of the way. So these are 4 1/4 wide. So we're going to cut these strips at 4 1/4. So 4 1/4, and then this is 7 1/2. So there's 7 1/2 by 4 1/4. This is the mermaid tags. So we're going to write that down just like that. All right, put that up there so we don't accidentally throw it in the wrong spot. And we've got a nice stack of paper here. Let's see where we're at for width. We're almost at 1/4 inch. So if we added, let's see how many pages we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll count this as 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So if we did 5 more pages in the watercolor pages, I think we'll be right where we need to be. And we may have to, like I said, we may have to eliminate the pages, but we can use them as a tag in another journal. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. It's like, So let's cut our pages. And we'll have them all ready and binder clipped together. I'm going to put that over there. Oh. Let me get a drink real quick before we start this part. Okay, so for these ones, I'm going to kind of cut where I want, like I want this strip. And we're doing 4 1/4. So all of this is going to go in a stack. You know what? I'm going to go grab my other little table. That goes there. Gotta shuffle a few things around. Sorry about the fan if you heard that. There we go. I'm gonna grab, I have a little like coffee table size thing that I've been meaning to bring over every time I go live, and I always forget. So, excuse me, that way I can keep a nice neat stack. And then this is 7.5. I gotta open this guy or girl. There we go, and 7.5. But I want that section. 7.5. Okay, so there's one. And I want this to be the tag because it has the, it's kind of busy and I like that. So 4.25, right? 4.25, 4.25, 4.25, or about 11 centimeters. It's just a hair under. And I like this kind of grungy corner, so let's go 7.5. It goes up there. And I want this in there, so 4.25. And 7.5. Now we can do these ones. I can do up to 3 pieces at a time. Because these are all solid, we can do them at the same time. So 4.25. There we go, put them in the pile. And 7.5. Oofta. That goes in the little pile. We'll probably use those little pieces to make little pockets and stuff. Okay, this one we were going to use to make a pocket. So let's put this aside and we'll engineer that in a moment. These ones are blank on the back side. So do I want to make pockets out of these as well? Nope, we're just going to leave that as a journaling spot. We'll ink the edges or coffee stain the paper. Four and a quarter wide. And 7.5. Actually, let's move this over here. There we go. That way I don't mess up my stack. And so hopefully these are all coming out the same size. Yes, they are. And I was just kind of thinking, you know, we might want to do like a paper, what I call a paper washer, where we do like, I've got the hole puncher thing, the hole reinforcements. We might want to do that in between each piece of paper, so that way they have a little gap between them. So that's something we want to consider as well. Okay, considering all the colors that we have, let's actually, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and cut it. Like I said, we can use them as any leftover pieces that we have, we can use them as a tag in another project. It's only paper. Don't get your undies in a bunch. And I've had this paper for so long. I'm so grateful to get it used up in a project. If you do not have scrapbooking paper, for cardstock, you do not have to go out and buy some. We are going to be working with some other options tomorrow, and alcohol ink and probably some spray stains, and we'll get that done. So we're going to do 2 at a time here just because, okay, this one I do want to have directional. Same with this one. I want it that way and that way. So gotta pay attention to what we're doing. 4 1/4. And 7 1/2. And then these ones we want directional as well. So we're going to make sure they're going the same direction. So tomorrow when we're working on the papers, we're going to work on full sheets, and that way we can kind of do what we did here today and like pick out the areas we want to utilize for this particular project. And then we'll have leftover pages to use in other projects. So it's kind of a mass make, an unintentional mass make. Gotta love it. Okay, so we've got our stack of papers here. Let's, what would be the easiest way to do this? So these are all, these are directional. Let's put these all the direction we want them to be. These ones are not. This one, and we already picked the direction. These are blank pages. This one's directional, but I wonder if I want it upside down. So you see this piece more than, because if we cut it off here, you're not going to see this piece, and this piece is just as interesting. So we're going to leave the more, yep, do it that way, that way. Okay, so these ones are not directional, and these ones are. Okay, and we're going to put Fanny away because I just thought of how we're going to do this. Because it will be the easiest way, I think, is to binder clip them together at the one end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're not over 10. I don't like trying to cut more than 10 at a time. We're going to put this there because we're going to put our template there. We're going to hold it down with binder clips. There we go. And we're going to get our cutting mat out. Yoo-hoo! Where'd you go? There we go. Oops. And we're going to use our cutting mat and our ruler and our rotary cutter. You can use a knife, a box knife, whatever you wish. I'm going to get a drink. We'll be right back. Okay. We got to get through these. I'm almost out of coffee. That's not good. All right, I'm grabbing my spectacles. There we go. We're going to line that up with the edge. Maybe a little bit over, so we don't cut our template. And even if we do, it's only going to be a little tiny bit. And we're just going to keep cutting until we get to the bottom. And there we go, we are at the bottom. Okay, push them off to the side. And then line this up. And cut these down. There we go. The reason why I don't like to do more than 10 is because the edge, like where you try to push up from, it gets to be too much. And I don't want to struggle with this. I want to just relax and enjoy the process. If you want to do more than 10, you go right ahead. But I need to get more blades for this cutter because I think this is my last blade. And I like it better than a knife. And yes, it is a little bit more expensive than a regular knife, but and there we go. So got all these cool pages all cut and ready to go. There we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And I'm making sure they're straight at the bottom, taking my template and using my hands to push and make sure they're lined up at the, because they may not be lined up at the top, but as long as they're lined up at the bottom, we're good. Like they may be a little bit longer, they may be a little bit shorter, but we're going to pick an edge and stick with it through the whole project, which is going to be my bottom edge. All right, here we go. I'll move this guy down a little bit so we can make our angle here. There we go. And I am using firm pressure, just not like super firm. Probably a little less than what you'd use to cut pizza, which is what we're having tomorrow night for dinner. And I got to start the dough for that tonight. All right, so there's that corner. And this corner. See, I don't like pulling towards me. It's just one of those things, I guess. But I end up doing it anyways, like I'm sawing. I don't know why. Quirky thing about me, I guess. Okay, there we go. We got all that. We're going to cover our blade because we don't want any strawberry jam. All right. Take our template and our pages. So we got all these cool pages. So we got some blank pages that we can stamp on, that we can decorate with washi tape, that we can just ink up the edges. Like this one, I'm probably just going to ink up the edges and leave it. There we go. Now we need to engineer our pocket. So because that paper is so thin, we want it to be thicker, but it's not long enough that we can it's not long enough that, because it's 7.5 inches tall and this is only 12-inch paper. So we need to figure out a way where we can double up this paper and make a pocket that is going to be on paper that will hold up. Now this is thick enough for a pocket 1-ply, but our tag we want it to be 2-ply because this isn't quite cardstock and it isn't quite paper. I would say this is more like 65 pound. I got it at Michael's and I could have swore it said 110 pound paper, but this is memory from a long, long time ago. So let's take Fanny out. Fanny is my cutter, my Fiskars cutter. And we're going to do 4 1/4 plus 4 1/4, which is 8 1/2. So we're going to cut this at 8 1/2, right? Somewhere in there. There we go. There's 8 1/2. So just under 22 centimeters. So it's at 21 or 21, probably 21.5 centimeters. I'm going to cut that in half. Okay, and we're going to put this aside. And then we're going to take out our scoreboard and we're going to kind of do some mathing skills right now. So there we go. If you don't have a scoreboard, you can use a ball tool and a ruler. You can use the back side of a butter knife and a ruler. I've even used just a piece of straight stencil or some kind of like card, like chipboard. I don't know if you can see this like this. That's actually the chipboard that I was looking for to make our stencil, but or our pattern, but it works. So wow, this is bigger than 12. What the deuce? It is bigger than 12. Well, off we go into the wild blue yonder. So we're going to score this at 4 1/4. I'll put my ruler down because anytime I try and draw a straight line for more than 3 inches, I can't do it. So we're just going to make this straight. I just went down lightly first, and then we're going to go and we're going to press this. There we go. Okay. And we're going to fold this in half. Maybe. It's hard to fold on this cardboard. Okay, that's all lined up. So we should get a nice, there we go. Now, here's where I'm thinking. What if we did a flip-up pocket, but then we glued down this end and glued down this end and then had a little hidden pocket right here? What do you think? I think that's kind of cool. So let's score this. So this is 12. So let's score this. Let's score it at 7 1/2. Okay. And then we'll see where that flip up comes in. We can always cut off this extra if we choose to do so. So that's 7 1/2. Doesn't feel straight, but it is. And we'll score it here twice. And that should give us enough of a score on the other side even. Yep. So fold this up. But because we're doing this like a paint board. We don't want this to be too tall, and I think this is going to be too tall because if you remember, we need to cut this at an angle here, so that's going to take about 1.5 inches, 2 inches off of our edge. So let's leave the pocket at like maybe 2.5. So let's see what that looks like. So there's 4.5. Well, that's convenient. Yeah. So let's go up to 2. And we'll just do a light score right there. And we'll just try this on to make sure that this is where we want to cut it before we take our cutter out. And these little scraps that we have folded, we can use these for tags or for pockets or for whatever else we want to do. So let's see, let's try this on. And that gives us more than half because there's the corner. Plus you've got the little bit at top too. So yeah, let's leave it there. So let's take out our decal cutter. Let's do that because that's fun. And we're just going to cut on our fold right there. And then we're going to do a little bit of surgery here. Let's move that out of the way. And just for my brain, I'm going to grab my brown ink, wherever that went. What did I do with it? Here it is. It is Coffee by Ranger Archival. This is my favorite brown ink, other than the oxide and the distress line. But sometimes you don't want to use the distress line. Sometimes you want to do, you don't want it to do, you're not going to utilize the special effects in that ink, so why use that ink? To me, that's wasteful. In my head. You do you, boo. I am not going to judge you. And if anybody else judges you, you tell them to come talk to me, and we'll have words. I mean, most people don't think like I do. I'm very frugal. I'm not cheap. I will buy the expensive stuff because usually the expensive stuff is better. Like I use archival ink over dollar store ink because I have the budget to do so. If I didn't have the budget to do so, I use whatever I can get my greedy little hands on. I mean, I am not that person that is like, oh, you can only use Ranger ink. Oh, you can only use this. Mm-mm. You use what you got. You use what you can afford, because most of us do this creative stuff for our own mental health and also to make gifts for our friends because we don't have a lot of money, but we want to give them something special and we can't afford to get them that Gucci purse or whatever else, you know, that some people can afford. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Make them something handmade. If they don't love it, I'm sorry. All right, surgery time. So I'm going to take this and line this up with where I want it to be, which is right about there. Line it up with the 1/4 inch thing. And I want it to be about 1/16 of an inch. So we're going really teeny tiny here. And that way I can line it up with these dots and the bottom line. And it's hard to line up a decal edge, but you know, we do the best we can. That's why I use the dots though, because it seems like I can line up the dots better than I can the solid line when I'm using a decal. All right, so now we're going to come down and we're going to use the dots again to our advantage. And the straight line goes on the straight line of the ruler, like so. And that way we just cut off just that this is more than a 1/16 of an inch though. Hang on. Let's boop it over. Or 1/8 of an inch. Probably want more like a 1/16 of an inch. We just want a little overhang there, but we want it to be as straight as we can get it. And that's why I use the dots on this cutting mat. Now this cutting mat I got at Walmart. I think it was like 10 bucks. So, and it's probably, you can see that it's well loved and well used. I've had this thing probably actually more than 5 years. So it's probably a little bit more expensive now. I want to get another one so I can have it part of my traveling kit. All right, we're going to use this until we get to this line. So I don't like pulling towards me, but we're gonna, there we go. And because this won't fit there, we're gonna have to get, did I put it away or is it in here? No, I put it away. Get our box cutter thingamabob, and we're gonna have to, now when you're using one of these, you want to just score. You just want to use gentle pressure and just go over it a multitude of times. You will get a better cut than trying to just hack it all off at one go. We're not a lumberjack. We're not in a lumberjack competition. I made that. I'm a lumberjack song pop in my head. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I'm just going to make this corner as crisp as we can. There we go. And done. So now we have just a tiny little gap, and it's a little crooked, but you know what? Handmade. So people want perfection. They can try and think they're going to get it from a machine. No one's going to notice that. Only us. And then that way we can fold it this way, and we'll glue it down, or we could just leave it as a flap, but this is something that's going to slide, so we probably want to glue it down. The other thing is we're going to leave this open. We're not going to glue it down just yet. We're not going to cut the tab corners on it just yet, because when we're working on our other inks and stuff, we can use our brushes, our brayers, or whatever, or we can do some some fun stuff to this before we go ahead and glue it all together and put it in our book. But until that moment, we are going to binder clip it to our other pages. And I'm just going to use a new binder clip just to hold it down here at the bottom. There we go. So we got all our pages put together. Well, not all of them. We're going to work on some more tomorrow. And I'm going to take our hardware and I'm going to spray paint that. I am going to finish painting the other, our front cover and our back cover with the purple, and then tomorrow we'll start off with painting it with the other colors, so we can let that dry, and then maybe by the end it'll be dry enough where we can go over it with our navy blue or teal or whatever I find that kind of goes with our color theme. So to recap, we've got some really cool wood tags shapes from the Dollar Tree, and we're turning it into a mermaid journal because there's a mermaid cutout on the front. These are our pages for our journal. We are going to bind them at the top so they slide out like a paint book, and that is where we're going to end it for today. I appreciate you watching. Remember, be kind to one another. Peace, love, and happiness.